Would your paths somewhere have inevitably crossed? Or maybe this incredible
probably.
life story wouldn't have happened?
No, I think it would.
Country music has given us stars with golden voices and heartfelt songs. But behind the fame, some stories turn dark. From shocking affairs to secret tapes and wild scandals, these stars lost everything they worked for. But how did these stars recover from these scandals? Join us as we uncover 15 country legends whose intimate scandals destroyed their careers. Number 15, Hank Williams Jr. Hank Williams Jr. was born into a world of expectations that few could ever understand. As the son of a country legend, his every step was watched, measured, and compared. But Hank was never one to live quietly under someone else's shadow. With a voice full of Southern grit and a love for bold, defiant sounds, he carved his lane by blending outlaw country with Southern rock. His music spoke to rebels, dreamers, and outsiders, those who refused to follow the rules. Yet, while his songs climbed charts and won hearts, his private life began to crumble behind the stage lights.
Everything I've said on this record is real, and everybody knows it.
Fame gave Hank the freedom he wanted, but it also fueled a storm he could not control. Nights of wild parties, heavy drinking, and substance use became part of his image. Women came and went, and soon, whispers of betrayal and infidelity followed him everywhere. What started as the fun life of a free spirit turned into a chain of chaos that weighed down his family. Broken trust and heartbreak slowly replaced the laughter that once filled his world. The drama that surrounded his name began to bleed into how people saw his music. At a time when Nashville was ready to polish him into a mainstream star, his reckless behavior painted him as too wild, too unpredictable. The same energy that once made him a hero to outlaws now made record labels uneasy. Fans still loved his voice, but the industry quietly shut its doors. In the end, his choices turned into the walls that trapped him. Hank Williams Jr. had all the talent in the world, but the same fire that made him stand out was also the one that burned everything around him. But Hank wasn't the only legend whose private life exploded into chaos. Another star's shocking love story would soon shake the entire music world. Number 14, Jerry Lee Lewis. In the late 1950s, Jerry Lee Lewis stood on top of the world. With his fiery piano style, booming energy, and wild stage presence, he was the kind of performer who made every show feel electric. Fans called him unstoppable, but behind the bright lights waited a decision that would change his life forever. During what should have been the height of his success, Jerry secretly married his young cousin, Myra Gale Brown. When the truth came out, that she was only 13 years old, it sent shockwaves through the world of music. The reaction was immediate and brutal. Reporters crowded him, audiences turned away, and the press that once praised him now called him a disgrace. His European tour was canceled overnight, and radio stations banned his songs. The man who had once been rock and country's golden boy suddenly found himself shut out of the industry he loved. For years, he carried that stigma, struggling to rebuild both his image and his career. Yet Jerry never gave up. He returned to what he knew best, his music. Slowly, he moved towards country, where loyal fans still believed in his raw talent. Though he found success again, the memory of that scandal never truly faded. The marriage marked his name forever, turning him from a rising icon into a cautionary tale of how fame can crumble in an instant. His story showed that one mistake, no matter how much time passes, can follow a person for life, especially when the world is watching. Number 13, Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's voice has always carried warmth, the kind that made listeners feel seen, heard, and understood. But even a man known for his soulful songs had secrets that the spotlight could not hide. Behind the charm and easy smile, Willie's personal life was tangled in love stories that rarely ended well. Over the years, he married multiple times, but faithfulness was never his strength. The truth began to spill out piece by piece, and one discovery changed everything. His then-wife, Shirley Colley, opened a letter one day and found a hospital bill, proof that Willie had a child with another woman. The shock tore through her like lightning, ending their marriage and exposing his private life to the world. From that moment, his personal choices became front-page gossip, and the man once seen as country music's gentle poet was painted as a heartbreaker. Each relationship that followed seemed to carry traces of the same pain, love mixed with betrayal. His affairs created cracks in his family life and shaped how fans saw him. Though his career never completely collapsed, his voice and songs were too beloved, his clean, humble image began to fade. The world no longer saw just the storyteller with a guitar, but also the man whose choices left a trail of broken hearts. Even with all the scandals, Willie Nelson remained a legend. His honesty in music kept people listening, even when his life offstage grew messy. Number 12, Jason Aldean. Jason Aldean had always been one of the brightest stars in modern country music. With sold-out shows, hit records, and a devoted fan base, he seemed to have everything: success, stability, and the perfect family life. His deep Southern charm and relatable lyrics made him the kind of artist people trusted and admired. But in the year 2012, everything took an unexpected turn that would change the way fans saw him forever. During a night out in Los Angeles, Jason was spotted getting too close to Brittany Kerr, a former American Idol contestant. The problem? He was still married to his high school sweetheart, Jessica Ussery.
I really enjoy our getting out in the backyard in the pool with my girls and just playing with them, hanging out.
The photos spread across the internet like wildfire, shocking fans who had always viewed him as a faithful husband and family man. Overnight, Jason went from being a symbol of loyalty to the center of one of country music's most talked about scandals. He quickly admitted his mistake and apologized publicly, but the damage was already beyond repair. The trust he had built over the years crumbled in days. His marriage, which had lasted more than 10 years and brought him 2 beautiful daughters, could not survive the betrayal. By the following year, divorce papers were filed, ending a relationship fans thought would last forever. The incident also divided his audience. Some believed everyone deserves forgiveness, while others couldn't look at him the same way again. His wholesome image, the one that had made him so relatable, was shattered. For a while, the scandal outshined his music, and every new performance was overshadowed by whispers of what had happened that night. In time, Jason picked up the pieces and started a new chapter with Brittany, eventually marrying her and building a new family. But no matter how much time passed, the story remained part of his legacy, a reminder that fame doesn't protect anyone from temptation. Even country's most beloved voices can lose their way when personal choices meet public judgment. Just when the dust seemed to settle, another country superstar faced a scandal that blurred the line between love and illusion. And this one began with a wedding that ended faster than anyone could imagine. Number 11, Kenny Chesney. By the mid-2000s, Kenny Chesney had already become one of country music's biggest icons. His songs about sunshine, heartbreak, and freedom had earned him countless fans around the world. But in 2005, his name made headlines not for music, but for love. His surprise marriage to Hollywood star Renee Zellweger was the talk of the industry. The pair looked radiant on a private beach, and for a moment, it seemed like a fairy tale had come to life. However, only a few months later, that dream began to unravel. The marriage ended almost as quickly as it began, and the world was left stunned when the annulment documents listed fraud as the reason. That single word was enough to spark endless gossip. Whispers filled tabloids and talk shows, each suggesting a different story about what went wrong. Instead of hearing about his concerts or his songs, fans found themselves surrounded by rumors, secret affairs, hidden truths, and supposed betrayals. The easygoing island-loving image Kenny had built suddenly seemed uncertain. People began to wonder whether his public charm was covering something deeper. The emotional toll was heavy. What was meant to be a joyful chapter turned into one of confusion and embarrassment. The media frenzy became unbearable, reaching even those closest to him. Every appearance he made was dissected, every lyric reinterpreted through the lens of scandal. For a man whose songs spoke about honesty and love, the rumors were a painful contradiction. It felt as though the world had turned his private heartbreak into entertainment. Though Kenny eventually moved forward, reclaiming his space in the spotlight and continuing to create chart-topping hits, that episode left a mark on his story. For a while, the music took a back seat to speculation, and the once perfect image of a carefree star became clouded by questions he could never fully answer. The experience showed how quickly fame can twist love into a public lesson, one that takes years to recover from. Number 10, Toby Keith. Toby Keith was more than just a singer. He was an American symbol. His songs celebrated small-town pride, hard work, and loyalty. Fans saw him as a no-nonsense, family-first kind of man whose music spoke from the heart. But behind the curtain of success, whispers began to follow him. Whispers that threatened everything he had built. As his tours grew larger and his fame soared, talk of offstage affairs began to circulate. Stories of late-night meetings and questionable relationships started to appear, each one chipping away at the clean image that had made him so admired. For someone who had built a career on being genuine and grounded, these rumors were devastating. Even though much of the speculation was never confirmed, it did not need to be. The damage came from the constant cloud of doubt that followed him wherever he went. His wife, who had stood by his side long before he became a star, found herself drawn into the chaos of public attention. What had once been a private life became a headline story. The scandal did not destroy his talent, but it shifted how people viewed him. Instead of focusing on his powerful songs and commanding stage presence, many fans and critics became more interested in his personal behavior. The gossip overshadowed his achievements, and some longtime supporters began to drift away. Despite the noise, Toby remained resilient. His determination and deep connection to his music kept him standing tall. He continued performing and producing hits, proving that his artistry couldn't be erased by scandal. Still, the rumors left invisible scars. A reminder that no matter how strong someone appears, fame always comes with a price. Number 9. Sara Evans. Sara Evans had spent years building a reputation as one of country music's most sincere and beloved voices. Her songs, filled with warmth and emotion, made her a symbol of faith, strength, and family. To fans, she represented stability, a woman who balanced fame with deep values and motherhood. But in the year 2006, that image began to fall apart when her private life suddenly took center stage. At the time, Sara was competing on Dancing with the Stars, charming audiences with her grace and smile. Then, without warning, she left the show, leaving fans confused. Soon, the truth came out. She had filed for divorce from her husband, Craig Shelsky. The news alone was shocking, but what came next drew even more attention. Her court filings cited mistreatment and adultery, opening the door to one of country music's most publicized breakups. What followed was an emotional and messy battle in court. Sara made serious claims about her husband's behavior, but Craig fought back with his accusations, saying she had been unfaithful and reckless. The details became tabloid headlines, and soon her name was linked to rumors that overshadowed her music. The woman once seen as the ideal of honesty and grace was suddenly caught in a storm of gossip that seemed impossible to escape. Though none of Craig's allegations were proven, the damage had already been done. The perfect image Sara had built was cracked, and her reputation took a painful hit. Still, she did not stop performing. She turned to her fans, continued touring, and tried to focus on what she loved most: her music. By 2007, the divorce was finalized, but the public memory of the chaos lingered. Sara Evans's story became a reminder of how fragile fame can be. One moment of turmoil can undo years of hard work. And as she fought to rebuild her career, another artist's story showed how damaging rumors could stop a career before it even had the chance to truly shine. If Sara Evans's heartbreak showed how fast admiration can fade, the next story proved how fame can crumble when accusations grow louder than the music itself. Number 8. Jimmie Allen. Jimmie Allen's journey began with nothing but determination and talent. Coming from Delaware, he worked his way up through small gigs and endless rejection before finally breaking into country music's biggest stages. His songs about hope and love touched hearts, and his story of perseverance made him a role model for dreamers. Fans loved his positivity and his devotion to his family. But in the year 2023, his image was shattered by shocking accusations that no one saw coming. A lawsuit filed by his former manager accused him of serious misconduct, claiming that he had crossed professional and personal boundaries in unacceptable ways. The claims spread fast, shaking his career to its core. And before the dust could settle, more allegations emerged, deepening the scandal and erasing the wholesome image he had worked so hard to build. Almost overnight, his world began to fall apart. His record label suspended him, country festivals removed his name from their lineups, and sponsors quickly cut ties. Even country radio, which once celebrated his hits, began to distance itself. The artist who had once been praised as the future of country music was suddenly fighting for his name and his livelihood. At home, things grew worse. His wife, Alexis Gale, who was expecting their third child, filed for divorce soon after the lawsuits became public. What had once been a story of family, loyalty, and success turned into one of loss and isolation. His career stood still while his reputation took blow after blow. Jimmie Allen's fall showed how quickly fame can turn fragile. In a single year, he went from celebrated newcomer to facing legal battles and public disgrace. His songs once symbolized love and hope, Now they echoed the silence of a dream interrupted. Number 7. David Allan Coe. David Allan Coe was known for pushing limits long before controversy caught up with him. His gravelly voice and raw storytelling made him one of the most notorious figures in outlaw country. He built his career on rebellion, songs that did not play by the rules and lyrics that shocked as much as they entertained. But over time, the same edge that made him famous became the reason many turned away. As his career grew, David began releasing music that critics called extreme, even offensive. His Underground album contained lyrics that many found deeply explicit, filled with violent and intimate themes that pushed far beyond what country audiences were willing to accept. The songs were condemned for their racial and misogynistic undertones, and the backlash was fierce. What had once been seen as bold expression soon turned into something darker, a reputation built on shock rather than substance. Fans who once admired his fearlessness began to question his motives. Venues stopped booking him. Festivals quietly removed his name, and industry leaders distanced themselves. While some loyal followers still viewed him as a misunderstood artist, others saw his choices as a step too far. The controversy became a permanent mark on his legacy. Though David Allan Coe was never charged with a crime, the damage to his career was lasting. The boundary-pushing lyrics that once made him stand out eventually defined him in a negative light. His name became a symbol of how quickly art can turn into outrage when the message crosses the line. Even decades later, his reputation remains divided, part legend, part cautionary tale. He proved that rebellion can make a star, but when taken too far, it can also destroy one. Number 6. LeAnn Rimes. LeAnn Rimes was once seen as the shining star of country music. From the moment she won a Grammy at just 14, the world watched her grow from a talented young girl into one of the genre's most adored voices. Her songs were filled with emotion and purity, and her smile seemed to carry the warmth of innocence. But that bright image came crashing down in the year 2009, when a secret affair turned her career into one of the most talked about scandals in entertainment. While filming the television movie Northern Lights, LeAnn began an affair with her co-star, actor Eddie Cibrian. The scandal quickly turned explosive because both of them were already married. LeAnn to dancer Dean Sharmat and Eddie to model Brandi Glanville. When the truth broke, it spread fast and wide, and the backlash was merciless. Overnight, LeAnn went from being America's country darling to being painted as the woman who destroyed 2 marriages. Her relationship with Dean ended soon after, and the painful divorce played out under a microscope. Eddie's marriage fell apart too, with his ex-wife keeping the story alive in the press through years of bitter remarks and public tension. What could have been a private heartbreak turned into a never-ending soap opera that followed LeAnn everywhere she went. Her once perfect career began to lose its glow. Album sales slowed, critics turned cold, and interviews focused more on her personal life than her music. The clean, innocent image she had built through years of hard work seemed lost for good. Even after she later married Eddie and tried to move forward, the whispers never truly stopped. The scandal had changed how people saw her forever. If you think this is shocking, then wait till you hear about the next person. Number 5. Merle Haggard. Merle Haggard was never just a country star. He was country music. His songs carried the voice of struggle, redemption, and real life. Fans loved him because he sang from the heart, but his life behind the microphone was far from peaceful. The man who wrote about love and hardship lived those stories for real. Merle's private world was filled with emotional storms. He married 5 times, and each marriage came with its share of turmoil. Rumors of cheating, emotional distance, and broken promises followed him everywhere. His romance with fellow country artist Bonnie Owens once captured hearts because of their shared passion for music. But behind the scenes, whispers of infidelity and tension made the relationship rocky. When that marriage ended, so did others that followed, each one seemingly weighed down by the same mistakes. While Merle continued to win awards and top charts, his reputation as a family man began to crumble. The headlines often focused on his love life more than his music, and his children grew up seeing their father's name tied to stories of heartbreak and scandal. For a man whose songs often spoke of faithfulness and redemption, these contradictions became impossible to ignore. Yet even as the rumors damaged his personal image, they also added depth to his outlaw persona. Fans felt that his flaws made him more real, a man who sang about the very pain he caused and endured. His life was messy, but his honesty in music made people forgive what they couldn't forget. Number 4. Keith Urban.
Would your paths somewhere have inevitably crossed? Or maybe this incredible
probably.
life story wouldn't have happened?
No, I think it would.
Keith Urban's rise to fame was built on charm, talent, and an unmistakable voice that blended country with modern rhythm. Long before the world knew him as Nicole Kidman's husband, he was already a household name, a star admired for his guitar skills and soulful lyrics. But even the brightest stars face shadows, and for Keith, that shadow came in the form of a scandal that threatened the perfect image he had built. Just as his engagement to actress Nicole Kidman was making headlines, a woman named Amanda Wyatt came forward with claims that she had been romantically involved with Keith for a long time, even during the early days of his relationship with Nicole. The accusation hit hard. Fans who had celebrated the couple's love story were left stunned, unsure of what to believe. The news spread quickly, and Keith's name began to appear in stories that had nothing to do with his music. For a while, it seemed that his reputation as a devoted partner and honest artist was slipping away. The timing couldn't have been worse. He was stepping into marriage and preparing for a new chapter, yet the gossip threatened to overshadow it all. Nicole, however, stood by him firmly. Her unwavering support helped calm some of the noise, but the mark the rumors left behind did not fade easily. For a man who had already fought battles with addiction and personal struggle, the scandal became another heavy test of strength. Number 3, Mindy McCready. In the late 1990s, Mindy McCready was one of the brightest voices in country music. Her songs climbed the charts, her smile lit up every stage, and her future seemed golden. She had that rare mix of talent and charm that promised a lifelong career filled with success. But fame for Mindy came with a heavy price. Behind the pretty headlines and award nominations was a private life slowly spiraling out of control. What began as the story of a rising star soon turned into a heartbreaking tale that left fans stunned. Her troubles began when a private recording surfaced, one that caught the attention of an adult film company and sparked a frenzy across tabloids. In a world that often judges women in the spotlight more harshly, Mindy found herself at the center of cruel gossip and public humiliation. The once celebrated artist who had filled arenas was suddenly reduced to scandal stories and rumors. While she tried to keep performing and making music, the industry that once lifted her up seemed to step back. Record labels grew distant, radio stations turned quiet, and her fame began to fade. The situation only worsened as personal problems began to pile up. Struggles with substance misuse and repeated run-ins with the law became constant headlines. Every attempt she made to rebuild her life and career seemed to be met with more chaos. The same media that had once praised her talent now followed her every downfall. Even though she tried several comebacks, the weight of public judgment and her inner battles made it nearly impossible to find peace or a lasting return to success. By the time of her death in 2013, Mindy's name had become a tragic reminder of how fame can turn cruel. Her story was no longer about hit songs, but about how a young woman's dreams were shattered by exposure, addiction, and despair. The voice that once promised a lifetime of music instead left behind silence and the memory of what could have been. But just as the world was still mourning the stars who fell from grace, another legend found himself caught in a storm no one saw coming. Number 2, Garth Brooks. For decades, Garth Brooks stood as the symbol of clean, wholesome country fame. His name meant success, loyalty, and family values. Every album broke records, every concert sold out, and every fan believed in the man behind the music. But in 2024, his perfect image was shaken to the core. A lawsuit filed by a longtime hairstylist and makeup artist accused him of years of inappropriate conduct. The claims were deeply unsettling, describing behavior that no one expected from a star known for kindness and professionalism. The story exploded across headlines. What began as a single accusation quickly grew into one of the biggest controversies the country world had ever seen. For someone whose reputation had always been spotless, the impact was devastating. Garth denied everything, insisting the claims were untrue. Yet the damage had already begun. Fans were divided. Some stood by him, others turned away, unsure of what to believe. For years, he had been seen as the ultimate family man, but now whispers and doubts surrounded his every move. Brand partnerships and industry connections started to distance themselves. The focus shifted from his songs to the lawsuit, from his stage magic to the scandal. The same spotlight that once made him untouchable now felt blinding and cruel. His family, caught in the crossfire, endured the heavy weight of public speculation. Even as he continued to perform and speak out, it was clear that things had changed forever. The trust that had taken decades to build was cracked. The legend who once seemed unshakable had become proof that no amount of fame can protect someone from the fallout of controversy. For Garth Brooks, the storm left behind scars that no song could ever heal. And just when the world thought the chaos in country music had peaked, another star's innocence was tested by the rumors that chased him from childhood fame to adult controversy. Number 1. Billy Gilman. Billy Gilman was only 11 when the world first heard his angelic voice. His song, One Voice, captured hearts everywhere and made him the youngest country star of his time. For a while, he seemed unstoppable, the charming boy with a pure sound and a shining future. But as he grew older, that perfect image began to fade beneath a storm of whispers. In his teenage years, the industry that had once adored him began to turn cold. Rumors about his personal life spread fast, linking his name to gossip and speculation that had nothing to do with his talent. The country music world, known for its conservative side, wasn't kind to such stories. What had once been admiration slowly turned into silence. Opportunities disappeared and people who once cheered for him kept their distance. Billy found himself trapped between his passion for music and a world that seemed eager to judge him. The pain of being misunderstood at such a young age left lasting scars. His rise had been magical, but the fall came quietly, not because of a crime or scandalous act, but because of the power of rumor and public opinion. Still, Billy refused to stay down. Years later, he stepped back into the spotlight on his terms. He embraced the truth about who he was, came out publicly, and faced the whispers that once haunted him. His courage turned his story from one of loss into one of strength. Though the road was long and painful, he found his way back to music, proving that honesty could heal what gossip once destroyed. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.